Thanks, voiceover guy. And on the podcast today, I'm really pleased to have Joe Davies from FatJoe. How are you doing, mate?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
Not too bad at all, thank you. Not too bad at all. I was just saying before we started recording, we've been sort of working together on and off from my agency's perspective. I think since about 2014, 2015. So bloody long time to be working with agencies. How do
A
you
long
look so young?
time. Well, thank you. I don't think I do, but
Sorry about that. I pressed the mute button. That's a good
oh,
start.
okay.
so Joe, give us a bit of a rundown. Like, who are you for anyone who's been living under a rock, never logged into Twitter, never been on the internet before?
Yeah.
Who are you? Where did you start? What is Fat Joe?
Okay. Yeah. So I'm Joe. I'm not the Fat Joe. I'm not fat, but yeah, we started a platform called Fat Joe, and we provide services to agencies primarily who want to outsource link building and content.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so we were born out of a frustration. We were born out of a real need. I thought in the industry. Um, Me and my co-founder, who's also called Joe,
Makes it
he's, al-
easy.
he's also not fat, but yeah, the name I guess we'll come to a bit later. But yeah, we both worked at an agency, and it was a pretty small to medium sized agency. We had a few clients, but we had a little bit of a disconnect between the sales team and the delivery team. And the sales team were just focused on getting as many clients as possible in,
Mm-hmm.
promising them the earth and this many links and this much content. And anyway, I was the head of SEO at that agency, and I was kind of like landed with all these new clients and not enough of a team to fulfill these clients' needs.
Mm.
So naturally, I mean, outsourcing isn't a new thing. Outsourcing isn't like a groundbreaking, brand new thing. People have been doing it for many years before we started, or before SEO even.
Mm.
Um, but the thing is, the way that we'd outsource back then would be through, you know, uh, Upwork or Fiverr, or we'd find people on forums. There's some forums
Yeah.
back in the day, like the SEO forums, and people were offering services, link building, content, and it kind of worked. It kind of like you could get things at a good price,
Mm.
resell it to your clients. But our frustration was it was really hard to manage all these vendors. I was getting vendor anxiety, so many to choose from. Who's the best? Who's going to go missing? And also the customer support was just terrible. You're dealing
Yeah.
with a link builder, not someone on the phone saying, "Hello, sir. What can I do about your order today?"
Yeah.
You're dealing with a link builder who's just got his head in links and he doesn't care.
People from all over the world as well. So you've got
Exactly.
different ways of having to say the same thing, and it's not always as simple as just using English. You've got to be a little bit more clear in certain senses.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's a little bit of a disconnect in those departments as well. So we just dreamed of a platform, if you like, where we could log on. We could choose what we wanted. It was easy to order. I weren't messing around with Excel spreadsheets. It was like an Amazon order form, and
Mm.
I'll pick the quantity. I'll give a few inputs, and then this platform would tell me exactly when it would be delivered. There'd be no messing around with asking when it's going to be delivered or why
Yeah.
is it late. And then if I had a problem, I'd like to speak to someone on a live chat or a phone number, and I'd like to speak to someone very polite. Um, and then if there was a problem with the order after it came, I could get a refund, get a guarantee if I didn't like it. They wouldn't go missing. There was a phone number, all those things I wanted, and we kind of dreamt that up, and we decided that we'd create it out of frustration. That's how it
And
was born.
and you guys have been going for a significant amount of time now, and it was just links originally. Now you do a lot of different outsourcing services. So, this is the whole point of the OMG Centre is to accelerate the growth of an agency, and in my view, there's agencies keep their brains internally, and where you can from a scale point of view, and you can trust, you should be outsourcing various different things. What is
Mhm.
it that Fat Joe can do for agencies? I'm not just anyone listening. I'm not just trying to sell here. There's no
Yeah.
affiliate scheme or anything like that. These guys know what they're doing. So, what is it you do? What other services are there that an agency could take you up on?
Yeah, so primarily we do link building and content.
Hmm.
We've really built some very large processes that agencies can take advantage of, because we've got a high leverage point where we've got a lot of writers. We've got 100 writers.
Mm,
That fluctuates, but it's roughly 100 writers who are committed to working to FatJoe full time. So we've
mm,
got access to that pool of writers whenever anyone needs links or blog content or web
mm.
copy. Um, and obviously, we've built relationships over the years with many, many bloggers in many different industries. So it's very easy for us to call upon these relationships. But we're also making new ones every single day as well, because we've got a huge outreach team that are
Yeah,
just.
yeah.
I think we've outreached to every blogger. I think we've nearly done it.
Run out.
But but yeah. Besides from that, we do video. There is these are smaller services, but there are cases where agencies might need a video for their client and explain a video. We do things like press releases, Harrow, um, business citations for your local clients,
Hmm.
um, infographic design. But yeah, mainly it's
Not a lot then.
links and content. Yeah, yeah, not a lot. But I mean, when you go on Fiverr, you can imagine you've seen like I think they've got like 700 service categories or something like that. So we're really niche to
And it's a lot
marriages.
more trustworthy in a sense because you're working with you guys, and that's the difference. I think Fiverr's great for lots of stuff, and genuinely, voiceover guy came from Fiverr,
Yeah.
and speak of the devil, and here he comes. But there's a lot of good stuff you can get on there, but it's the aspect of the full sort of delivery service that works really well, especially when you're outsourcing things. I
Exactly.
remember years ago, like I relied on Fiverr for a lot of stuff, and it is great for lots of stuff. But the stuff I started using it for, I realised
Yeah.
after 3 weeks of delays and waits, then it comes and it's totally wrong, and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Thankfully, you lot deal with that lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Joe, what is it in all of the years you've been working with agencies that you love most about agencies?
So, I mean, I loved working in agency. Previously when I was a head of SEO at an agency, I loved the variety in clients that you can work for. I loved the fact that one day you could be working on maybe a small local client, and the
Mm,
next day you could be working on a national client, and you can pull big levers and get them good results.
yeah.
Um, I love that because it's a lot different to working on little affiliate sites where you can't you're earning a bit of commission.
Mm,
It's like you're using the same processes for an international client, using the exact same skill set, yet your lever's like 10 times as big. So I kind of like that when I started working within an agency. But then when we was working for agencies, um, what I really like, I mean, I don't get intimate with our agency's clients
mm,
because
mm.
that's just we don't need to.
Yeah,
They're doing all the strategy. They're telling us what they need. Um, but I do like to, when I do speak to agencies, I do like to hear how they're building their strategies for their clients. What exactly what they're doing. Um, I love to hear how lean some agencies are becoming these days,
yeah.
especially in the light of COVID. Um, it's become more of a freelancer economy
It has
and
a bit, yeah.
a vendor economy, and agencies are realizing, you know, well, we can just keep a really small core team, the
Mm.
brain of the agency, and then we can outsource everything else to people like ourselves. But there's many choices out there as well.
Yeah, and like I say, the thing that clients come to agencies for is the thinking that they can't necessarily do. If you have a client come to you and they've got an in-house team, then you're the outsourced delivery
Mhm.
provider, and that's usually because you're delivering a physical, tangible thing, more likely, like website or an asset of some sort, and maybe
Yeah.
outreach or something along those lines. But most agencies, the good ones, I think, are the ones that go, "What's in what we do is we've got the creativity and the intelligence and the experience to do stuff." but then we turn the wheel and get the maximal delivery for the client by
Yeah.
scaling up all of that smarts.
Yeah.
In all of the experience you've had with agencies in the last, however, how long has it been since you started? When did you start in an agency? How long ago was that?
I started working for an agency in 2010,
Right.
but
So
I've been in SEO since 2006, maybe.
So quite a long, long
Long
time.
time.
I think
Yeah.
actually I saw a photo on Twitter the other day of you and someone else at an event, and you looked a lot younger.
Yeah.
So it was a good old
Yeah.
while ago, and it was before SEO was even popular. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but in all of those years, and all that time you've spent in and now working with agencies, what do you think actually does set the best from the rest?
I think that, well, the best agencies we work with, they, I've mentioned this a few times,
Beyond how
but
much they spend.
yeah, yeah, but they insource strategy, and they outsource deliverables.
Hmm.
So like I said, they've got like a really small core team. Like they've just got like account managers who deal with maybe 5 to 10 clients, depending on the service level of the agency.
Mm.
And these account managers are almost operators of the SEO marketing. You know, they're sort of fractional heads of SEOs
Mm.
for that client, and they're just deciding, right, this client needs this, this, and this on a monthly basis, and they might need this every so often. We're going to do all this on their site as a setup. We're
Mm.
going to add content every week, content every month, and then they use outsourced providers because it has more scale. Because some agencies, like, they hire in house, they hire link builders in house, they hire content writers in house, but that doesn't scale really, because then you've got to get more desks, more computers, bigger office, and then when something happens, touch wood, it doesn't, but maybe there's a economic downturn, or maybe there's AI.
Mm.
Maybe I didn't want to say the AI word so soon, but
You did.
yeah, I did. But maybe that happens. Then maybe you have to think about how much staff you've got servicing your clients. And at that point, you're kind of like, the carpet's been pulled from under your feet, and you've got all these people who are meant to be writing content for your clients, but
Yeah.
your clients are using AI now. So there's many benefits to outsourcing deliverables, but I think the main one is scale. I think you can just
Yeah.
scale a lot faster, and then you're sort of protected from any downturn.
Yeah, and I think I don't disagree with you, and I think that there's obvious other benefits to it in that sense as well, because an agency really isn't as good as its headcount. And I don't know how many conferences
Mm.
I've ever been to, but every single time I remember saying I ran an agency, the next question would be, how many are you? Not
Yeah,
what's your profit margin or anything like
yeah,
that. Now, employing people is good because it's good for the economy, it's good for people and
yeah,
things like that. But there are different ways of doing that, and there's different ways
yeah,
of keeping people in jobs and things. And you can be a really lean agency making a mean profit margin, and
yeah,
you're much more sellable. You can scale in a different way. You can
totally.
work with people in a different way. If you scale really highly, you need lots of very intelligent course setters and
Yeah,
account managers, and the outsourced aspects are the way that you can do that sort of thing. You don't have to be lean in the sense of 4 people. You could be 40 people, but they're all
yeah,
doing the in-sourced thinking bit.
yeah.
You've worked with agencies for yonks then.
Mhm.
In that time, you will have seen car crashes and agencies that aren't so good. So we've talked
Yeah.
about what the best do. Beyond like the outsourcing aspects and stuff, what do you think the ones that are the rest? What do they look like?
So I think the agencies that are not doing so well, they may be caught in sort of old habits of selling by time, so
Mm.
selling by hours, and this is something that I'm really against, because I don't think value is in time. I don't think clients care about how long something takes.
Mm.
If you say, look, I want to rank, I want to get more traffic, I want to get more sales, which is really what the client really wants, and you say, well, it's going to take 10 hours. So because it takes 10 hours, we've got to charge you this much.
Yeah.
I think, first of all, they're shooting themselves in the foot, because they need to charge in terms of ROI. They need to charge in terms of value of what they're providing. Second of all, 10, like, it just doesn't make any, they can't. they can't outsource it at that point because they need to prove that they've spent 10 hours on it.
Yeah.
So this is why you've got
Yeah.
the agencies who are caught in this archaic, almost factory-like setting where they've got people logging time and saying, "Oh, I've spent 10 hours link
I
building,"
think
and it just doesn't
I
make
think
sense.
that's a hangover from a couple of things. One of these things, at least. So the agency model is essentially a model offshoot from the likes of legal firms and things like that, where
Mm,
you're buying time because the expertise is the thing that you're buying. But
mm,
also, more likely is that agencies, and quite a lot of agencies, they're slowly getting their heads around it, but quite a lot of agencies struggle with the understanding that it's not a product, but it is a service. And you can't
yeah,
deliver a service in a certain amount of time unless that service is something like a massage, or something where
yeah,
you're having a training session with a personal trainer and thing like that. But that's still very
yeah,
much more a tangible thing, and intangible
yeah,
services are not possible to measure time. I said to an agency leader the other week, we were building their processes and we were building the operational aspects of the agency to fit the strategy that we built for them, and
mm,
they're on the time thing and they were pushing back on it. And I said, look, what if one day you've got a new client that comes in and you find an SEO aspect that is literally, it's a 10-minute fix, but it impacts every page of the
yeah,
website, and within 6 weeks huge changes have been made, have been seen. Are you going to spend another 9 hours and 50 minutes filling time up, or are you going to
mhm,
produce that value and show the value of the work you've done? And they were like,
yeah,
got it, makes sense now.
exactly. I mean, a good example of that is like a conversion rate optimization company, CRO
Mm,
company. They provide so much ROI. If you double the conversion rate of a sales page that's doing 6 figures a month, you you might have spent 2 hours wireframing a new page,
mm.
or changing a headline, or changing the hero shot into something that's more high
Yeah,
quality, and that would have took an hour, 2 hours, but you've like at least 5 figures
yeah.
difference monthly.
I
Yeah,
remember doing, on one site we worked on a long time ago. Um, all we did was via a command line on the server, zipped,
yeah,
no, not zipped, compressed every single header image ever so slightly, just to,
yeah,
it said by ever so slightly as a percentage ever so slightly, but it improved the page speed of every single
mm,
page by quarter of a second, something like that, and the traffic never changed. The conversion rate increased. That was one
yeah,
command line that went, look in the WP content folder, take the JPEG or the ping,
yeah,
and just take it and
yeah,
and smush it a little bit and do it in one
yeah,
go
yeah,
as a batch. And it did it, and that was it, running in the background for an hour or two. Laptop got very hot,
yeah,
but
yeah,
the client got a really good return on their investment of what we were doing, not necessarily how long it took us to do it. And
right, yeah, that's
if you're
brilliant.
selling time, time's running out, guys. Sorry about that.
Exactly. Exactly.
So let's just say for the moment that you're looking at adding some more services to FatJoe. You've got the R&D department running overtime to look at it, and you come up with a service which is a one-shot only magic wand. And that magic wand you only can use once, that changes one thing about every single agency out there in, like,
Mm.
straight away. What is it? What's the magic one going to do?
Well, I think the magic wand would it would help them realize that they don't need um, all this in-house staff doing their
Mm.
deliverables. It would make them realize not to sell by time, to sell by
Mm.
value, to sell by ROI, and then they would use our
Yeah,
services.
of course. I mean, naturally.
Yeah.
um, yeah, I do think the selling by time, and I think the the only time you'd probably have internally from a writer's point of view, internal writing,
Mm,
would be dependent
mm.
on the type of client you've got. So if you've got a
Yeah,
very, very niche, very, very bespoke, very, very um, regulated client or something like that,
yeah,
makes perfect sense, because you need that
yeah,
writer to be on the calls. You need the writers to be understanding the needs of the client more.
yeah,
But if you're not along those lines and you are selling 15 hours of work, then
Yeah.
one of the things that that we did with Minty, that the voiceover guy kindly reminded us of, is
Yeah.
we looked at not just like where costs were, but how fees were calculated. And one of the things
Right.
that we didn't, what we did was essentially suggest how much the level of effort went into the work. So when a proposal was being put together, it would say
Yeah.
level of effort over time, as opposed to
Mm.
10 hours here, 10 hours there. That level of effort
Right.
translated internally to hours for capacity planning and things like that. But
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
level of effort over time then meant that the you can play with the fees a bit more, and then your
Yeah.
margins go up, and every single client understands that they're buying effort and value that comes from
Yes.
effort.
Yeah. Yeah.
And not only did they make more sales, but they actually made better margins on that, because they weren't necessarily delivering 15 hours. They were delivering effort, and it worked really well.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. When when I used to work at an agency then, and I don't recommend this at all, but it was 2010. We used to do something really. It was. I call it genius, but other people might say this is an idiot thing to do. We used to, like, whatever the client was, we used to print off a list of keywords from Google Keyword
Mm.
Planner. That's what we was using at the time, and we'd have this formula which sort of, it was based on the volume and the difficulty, not the difficulty, the
Yeah.
competitiveness that Google said it had. And then we gave each keyword a score, and it would be something like easy, medium,
Yeah.
hard, something like that. And each keyword also had a time period to rank on first page.
Yeah.
And we had this algorithm, and then we just sort of printed off this list of keywords, and went into meetings, and we just gave this list to the client, and it became sort of self-selecting. They were picking off keywords they wanted to rank for,
Mm.
like individual keywords, and the total of the keywords selected would be their monthly retainer,
Yeah.
if you know what I mean. So, I mean, obviously, it was a car crash when it come to 8 months down the line, and the keyword they picked
Yeah.
didn't rank, but the sentiment was there to
Yeah.
say
The logic of it makes sense.
logic of it makes sense, but it's kind of going. They then didn't care about the hours or the time or what we were going to do. It was just the end result we were
Yeah.
selling. And it kind of, once we got to the point of 6 months and we had got some results, probably not the exact results we had promised, they were kind of very forgiving and kind of saying, okay, well, these keywords are ranking, these ones
Yeah.
aren't. At that point, we could get them on a normal retainer.
Yeah, and I
But
think it's essentially assessing, showing them up front the level of effort to provide some value. It's not a promise. At the same time,
exactly, yeah, yeah,
that does make sense to make that intangible thing more tangible, especially back then when no one really understood
yeah,
any of it. It was very much magic.
exactly, yeah,
Um,
yeah. What it was. I mean, before the Penguin days and Panda and everything that come after it, it was kind of like you could pick a keyword
yes, yeah,
and
yeah,
you
yeah,
could get to pay for
yeah.
it. So it was kind of like 1 + 1 =
The
2.
good old
But
days.
now we kind of, yeah, now we're learning more about, topical authority, and it's not about the keyword, it's about your organic traffic, and we we're sort of maturing as an
It's certainly a
industry,
lot
I
more
hope.
mature now, for absolute
Yeah.
certain. Joe, it's been wonderful talking to you on the podcast. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
And in
Cheers.
our next episode, we'll be talking with another agency advisor, coach, mentor, or trainer. In the meantime, thanks very much for listening. Speak to you soon.
Thanks. See you later.